Welcome everybody. Today I'm going to show you all the flower seeds I'm going to start in 2023. Only flower seeds. That doesn't include dahlias, it doesn't include corms like ranunculus and anemones. I'll do that separately, otherwise that video will probably take 3 hours or something. No worries, it won't today. But what I'm going to do is, if you've been following me a little bit, you already know that I have 2 large cut flower beds, L-shaped, around my vegetable garden. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have one of those L's dedicated for a full season bed, and the other one I'm attempting to have one as a spring bed and then turn it around into a fall flower bed. So we'll see how that goes. You can follow me through this season and see if that plan works out. I certainly hope so. It's well planned, but you never know, right? So some plans take longer, some other plans are faster, so we'll see how this works out in total. So for today, we're looking first at my large flower bed, the full season bed, and how I'm going to do this. So you see here the garden plan. This garden plan shows you the sections where I have which type of flower. Last year I had the ambition to have those 2 flower beds color coordinated, starting at like deep red going into peach, apricot, and then over here going into white, pink, blush, purple, and then I had some filler greens over here. This worked out for most of the season, but there were a few flowers or a few seedlings which didn't get the color memo, and for example I had one orange one popping out of the purple section. Wasn't a big deal in the end, right? Everything was very, very pretty, but I'm not messing with that this year again. Also, what the color coordination didn't take well into account was the different staking needs different flowers had. So this year the plan shifted and I'm planting blocks of the same plant, but all together. For example, all my dahlias are together so that I have all of the staking requirements for this one ready at hand to make that easy, because yeah, staking was definitely something what I had on my list to improve this year as a learning from last year. But let's look at all the seeds I want to start. So I'm starting on the top, going further down. One of the themes for me deciding which flowers I'm going to add into my setup this year was I loved all my dahlias, and if you've been following me on Instagram, you've seen all my beautiful dahlia bouquets. I literally had bouquets starting at 4th of July till the end of the season, which was for me, I think the last bouquet I had was first week of November, which is amazing. Non-stop flowers, I have full house decked out with it, which was gorgeous and awesome. The thing which I missed a little bit was a little bit more variation in the fillers and like the type of plants. I had like a lot of large beautiful ball dahlias in a lot of different colors, but it felt like it was missing a little bit of whimsy for the bouquets, like a little bit more variation in the type of fillers or structural elements. So that is what I'm trying to add this year. And the first group which we have over here is adding into this already, which is the yarrow and the ami varieties. So there I picked classic varieties. I'm really looking forward to this favorite berries variety from Johnny Seeds, and this is just a pastel-y mix over there, and then combined with the dara, which looks more chocolatey or like more of a settled color, and then one which is green and white. What you will recognize when you follow me, I have a sweet spot for white blooms. It's like a bunch of my bouquets last year could have passed as bridal bouquets, no problem. But I just love white as a bloom color. So it's just something what I always enjoy, like, and especially like the contrast between white and green. You'll see that in a few other ones as well. So that just always makes my heart beat a lot faster. So after the yarrow and the emmy, we have there a block of basil. So now you're wondering, what does basil do in a flower bed? Let me tell you, A couple of years ago, I tried all the basil varieties on the planet to just figure out which ones I like to eat. Turns out not many, but I love how they smell. And they usually hold up really nicely in a vase as well. And I've seen a bunch of flower farmers putting basil into their bouquets as a really, really nice foliage accent, really to give it that smell. Because, for example, dahlias, beautiful, but don't smell, right? So to make it a little bit more magical, to have some basil varieties in it is really, really great. A new one to me this year is the Mrs. Burns Lemon. I'm excited to smell this one. This one was one I hadn't tried. The blue spice and the opal, super beautiful. Like they all get this beautiful seed spike when they bold, and that always adds super beautiful structure to the bouquet. So I love that. And one which I grew last year, which for some reason flowered really, really late. I gotta keep an eye on this year, but it blew my mind. That was the cardinal basil, which you see here on the bottom. That by itself could have been the centerpiece of a flower bouquet, because it was like really thick and dense and purple, gorgeous. Like it was amazing. I really, really loved that one. So I'm doing more, and as you can tell, I have a bunch of varieties, but in the associated fields or in the associated section in the flower bed, I will only have like 2 or maximum like 3 plants of each variety squeezed into this, to give you an understanding of how big this flower bed is. It's, I think, 23 feet long on the left side, and then when it goes into the front, it's another 19 feet long or 20. So it is distance. Like each little square you see for the dahlias is 1 square feet, for example, just to give you a little bit of an understanding from the sizing here. So there is a lot of space which you can do, but I always love to have just a little bit more varieties than a lot from just one. So following the basil was one of my other very favorite filler, which you could also have just as a centerpiece or just a bundle of it by itself, and it would be gorgeous in a vase. But the celosia varieties I grew last year, boy did I love them. Like the Selway White was beautiful green spike with like a little white top on it. Everyone who got bouquets from me last year asked me, "Oh, what's that? That looks so cool." It almost looks like a little bit of an fancy, cool, like the, what is it called? Oh, the bottle brush. The bottle brush. It's really, really pretty, just in a pretty form. And then the flamingo feather. I didn't have enough from this last year, so I'm looking forward to have a couple more of this one. And then the one where I had really, really a lot from was the Texas Bloom Vintage, which was also just such a beautiful color combo that ranged from really like a dark, not purple, but like a dusty rose pink to like a light pink, and every color combo in between. Really, really gorgeous. They also had more dark red stems, so that made another great color combo here as well. Then moving on to the Zinnia varieties. Let me just tell you, if you would ask me what is the one Zinnia variety I would grow and would drop everything else which you see here, it would be the Queen Lime Blush. Boy, so beautiful. Like the most perfect shaped petals. The color combo is like light yellowy green with a touch of pink that literally was fitting with any other color in my garden. Like I could put it into the purples, into the oranges, peaches, the pinks, wherever you wanted it, it fit in, and it was just so gorgeous, and it had so many pretty different color combos. I really, really can highly recommend it. If you don't have that and you're looking to add some more Zinnia varieties, get definitely this one. The other one I enjoyed very much as well was the Cinderella Peach. And let me tell you, the pollinators, they went wild for that. Like, I'm not sure what it was, that it was a little bit more open or accessible. They were all over it. That was also where I actually got stuck while reaching into it and disrupting a bumblebee or something. But this was beautiful. Cinderella Peach, put that on your list too. the Lilliput Rose. This is like a teeny tiny smaller one, also not that big of a plant. I really like that to have it in front just for some accent. Again, I'm trying to craft, or I try to grow flowers, so I have a lot of variety of like disc flowers like the zinnias in different sizes, shapes, colors, but then also other shapes of blooms, so that I have really cool variety next year. I am so excited. The Oklahoma salmon, this was an interesting one because it looked to me a lot more pink than salmon. But again, this year I'm not going for color coordination. I will have a very wild multicolor mixed cut flower garden. So I did enjoy the blooms and how big and full they were. They just looked out of place in my peachy section because it had a more pink stench to it, but totally fine. Then the illumination, this is a new one to me. Last year it just reinforced that I am a sucker for white, pink, blush, purple palette when it comes to flowers. Like, gosh, all the ones which I love the most. So I'm adding this one to see how that goes. And then next to it, the Miss Wilmot. This was a beautiful one. This was a very large bloom. It's hard to see in the picture, but it almost looked like a really cute pink, but brushed with gold. I'm not sure where this gold sparkle came from, but it was so pretty. I really loved that one. And the giant wine next to it was a beautiful one as well. That one was massive. That one had huge blooms and really pretty ones as well. And then the Cinderella lilac. This one didn't do so well for me last year, but I had some struggle with bunnies, and then I think everything around was already bigger than this one, so it struggled all year long. So I hope that gets a little bit of a better chance this year. And then we skipped the dahlia section and look at the status I want to grow. So status really was a surprise hit for me in 2022. I just grew a few of them and really enjoyed them as fillers in my bouquets because they have just such a small little whimsy look to it. But what is the really cool thing about status is, number one, it's also a cut and come again flower like zinnia. You cut them and they just grow along all season long for you, but they dry so beautiful. I had bundles of status cut and hung to dry in my basement, so I could do some winter crafts with them. So I did a lot of winter ornaments for families and friends, and some other little whimsy crafts with those dried flowers, and they dry almost exactly how they look when they grow. They don't fade in color. Super amazing. I can highly recommend them. And then another love I really grew for the first time in 2022 and fell in love with that were cosmos. They were so beautiful. I grew the double click and the cupcake blush. Both of them were so nice, although I gotta say the double click I liked a little bit more because they look just a little bit more sophisticated from the bloom with a double, although the simplicity of the cupcake one was cute as well when you have them just like hanging and like bouncing on the top of the bouquet, give them some nice like aerial effect. Really nice. So the new one for me this year is the double click violet. I mean, loving that double click color and knowing my preference for that kind of color scheme, this was a no-brainer to add, so this was something I'm excited to see. And now we're coming to a section where I went a little bit wild. Keep in mind, I won't grow many of those, although I do have many in the basement already. But in 2022, my Lisianthus experiment of growing them from seed was very successful. I only had 3 varieties in 2022, which all worked out very well for me, so that I went a little bit wild in 2023. I basically got any variety I could get my hands on, and yeah, that's the result. We have 2 pages here, not just one, 2 pages. But let's look at those ones here first. And in the end, I think like only like 5 of each variety or so will make it into the bed. So we'll see. It's really not that many in per variety in total, but I just want to see how they look, how they do. I kind of have already like probably like a couple favorites, but we will see. The Rosita 2 White, again a sucker for white blooms, and the next one, the Voyage First Love. I had a Voyage White in my 2022 garden, which was gorgeous, pollinated, I loved it, held up so well. What is the great thing with Lisianthus is they have a 3-week vase life. It's like boom, yeah, it's unbelievable how well they do in the vase. They are a no fuss cut flower. When you put them into the vase, they just sit there, you exchange the water, and they are just as happy as they can be. Super amazing. I actually ran out of vases when I cut my Lisianthus last year because all vases were occupied with the other ones I cut already, and they were just so long doing well in the vases that I had some logistical issues here. So, but I'm really happy to produce those logistics issues again in my garden for this year, but we'll see. The Arena 3 Apricot is something I'm really excited to see and how it will compare to the Arena Red. And I'm also curious to see if that is a true red. Any picture I saw so far looked to me more like an, I don't know, like a deep purple like you see here. That doesn't look like a red, right? It has such a pink tinge to it. So we'll see, but anyway, looks gorgeous, whatever the name is. Then I went with the Roseanne Green. Again, it's whenever you have in green bloom like this just fits so well with anything else what might is going on in the garden at that time. So I'm really excited to see this. The Corelli Light Pink. I'm also curious to see how they do in like shape and sizes compared, for example, this one to the First Love. They look very, very similar. I'm really curious to see all of those differences, and we'll document them nicely and pick probably after that a few favorites. One which I think might be a favorite is that Voyage Champagne, because I mean, look at that color, isn't that gorgeous? Then I got also a mix of Roseanne 1. Those are like earlier blooming varieties, and you can see that across all of the varieties I picked. I hope I have a little bit more succession planning or succession blooming with those Lisianthus based on the varieties I picked. So let's see how that works out, but that's the plan. When we look at the second page of this, you'll see a couple of other of my favorites. The Doubellini White was something I grew Doubellini Blue in 2022, like gorgeous, cute little flowers which bloomed very, very early. The blue just didn't went well or didn't mix well with anything what I had blooming in the garden at that time. So I dropped the blue, swapped it for the white. And yeah, I'm really curious to see how those turn out. But then the 2 pinks, like the Rosita Pink and then the Arena 3 Baby Pink, that is right up my alley. And like, if you've looked into Lisianthus, I'm pretty sure you have heard about the Roseanne Brown. This is where everyone got crazy about. So I add that one too. And looking at my seedlings in the basement already, the Roseanne Brown seems to be in overachiever. We are 4 weeks into growing them, and it's already starting to have its own first set of leaves growing and stuff. So they look really, really good. So we'll see. And then yeah, and that's Rosita Apricot. I'm really excited to see as well. So we'll see. So those are all of the flowers or all of the varieties I'm planning to grow in this full season cut flower bed. The other one which we swoop into is the ones which I have here in the plan, which will be the spring seedings. We'll probably do another video a little bit later with what do we succession plant there for the fall or for the swap. It's not really a fall planting, it's more like in late summer, because you can see here I have ranunculus and anemones planted in this bed first. Most of the first leg will be actually ranunculus and anemones, which will start probably like in 3 weeks from now. But then I have a few steps left where I'm going to have some poppies. For some reason I skipped poppies last year and I really missed them because they bloom so early in the season and they bloom so whimsical. I don't put them in the vase. I usually have them for the pollinators and just enjoy them in the garden and really, really love them around. So there I want to have the raspberry ripple, the amazing gray, and the giant rattle. The giant rattle is also cool because you can keep them, and they build those very, very beautiful seed heads which you can then also dry and use them for decorations whatsoever. They are really, really nice. So those will be fillers more or less in the corner. And then I'm really excited to try stock this year for the first time, only with two different varieties, or like it's a mixed package, the second one, but we will see how this works out. I'm really excited to see the Quartet Rainbow. This is a multi-branching variety of stock, so it's not a one-hit wonder, so I'm curious to see that. And then the Cat's Formula mix, this is like a one and cut and done, but yeah, I'm really excited to see how those ones go. And the ones then after will be snapdragons. Snapdragons, I didn't have them big in my cut flower garden last year, but that was a mistake because I have another like more ornamental cut flower bed away from the cut flower garden, or just a flower bed, not a cut flower bed. And over there I popped in a few more snapdragons, and they always amaze me how long they hold on in the fall, but also how well they do like in the heat of summer here. Like our weather is quite extreme, like in the winter or in the spring it's cold and then it heats up very quick and then it stays hot and humid and then it drops very fast. So they did really, really well. They were, I think I had snapdragons blooming still at Thanksgiving, which is like, yes, it was a little bit more mild, warmish fall, but still this was we were past a bunch of good harder frosts by then, and they were still looking great. So they deserve a spot in the garden, and I am just keeping them in the spot. Those will be the only ones which will stick around from the swap to between like spring and fall, because I just want to see, is it worth to keep them around, or do I next year, if this swap between the season works out, if I switch them later, or if I just like let them be. They might look a little grumpy over the summer, but then they will flush back in fall. We will see. But I'm also very excited for those varieties. You can see my color my color scheme here in full force with the lavender variety, but then also doesn't that apple blossom looks gorgeous with the green and this little blush and this white, or this creamy white. I can't wait. And the Costa mix is a little bit mix of like anything in between, I would argue. So I'm really excited. And then the rest of this flower bed will be with some other spring varieties which are more fillers. I grew Bells of Ireland in 2022 for the first time, and they blew me away. They were so cool. They're spiky, so careful if you grow them. They have like weird spikes along the stem, so you gotta watch your fingers. But this architectural filler was just gorgeous, and they smell very well as well. So I really, really enjoyed those ones. And I'm trying for the first time some Nigella and some Orlea again, just to have some more whimsy looking fillers in there. So we'll see. They just got a small spot with a few plants too, to see how those ones goes. But those were all seeds I'm going to start very, very soon. I'm really curious to hear which varieties you are going to start for 2023 from seed. Any recommendations from your side, so leave me a comment below. I would love to hear what you are doing, or if you have any questions for the varieties I picked or I'm going to grow this year. So I'm really looking forward to your comments. If you like my content, as usual, please subscribe or watch another video. If you want to see my veggie varieties, for example, you can do so as well. I'm looking forward to see you with the next video.